Sunday night. Two very different things happened, right? So I got all of that college football. I told you I'm an Adventist, so I watched college football on Saturday night, trying to catch up on all the games. Some of the games got recorded, and I was watching them, and boy, I had one show Saturday night. I had a different show on Sunday night, and I had an inkling Saturday night that I might have a different show on Sunday night when I was on Twitter, and I saw, well, look at that. The Buffalo Bills might have something planned with regards to protesting before the game. Was not prepared for what happened the next day, which is that everybody in the NFL decided to protest before the game in some form or fashion. Whether through kneeling or locking arms together. There were coaches involved. There were owners involved. Statements were issued by just about every single team with regards to standing behind the players who were protesting. And I think that this is an important moment. It's an important moment because it's the moment that you understand, or the moment that you gather what people really think about you. Right. So I had a friend. In college. There was a group of us that were friends, and one friend of mine came to me and let me know that this friend was making racist jokes about me behind my back. Right. Like I was not there, and he was making these jokes about me. Now, it hurt. It hurt to hear that. It hurt to think that somebody was a friend, that they felt that way about you, and they felt comfortable enough expressing that. That's hurtful, and it's always a shock to realize. So when the president was saying to an audience in Alabama that anybody who kneels is an SOB, well, that hurt. That went to a different place. That was pain, and that was everybody understanding in that moment. There's a portion of the nation that thinks that way about players. Now, I am one of those people who stands behind the players, and there are a lot of us. And I think that the conversation that this has been twisted into has been a conversation about desecrating the flag. This has been a conversation about disrespecting the flag. And it has been unfairly made into that conversation, because this is not a conversation about that at all. And oh, look. Got a caller, and I am ready for this one. Caller, you're on the air.
Oh, poor babies got their feelings hurt, making $20 million a year.
Who's making $20 million a year? Do you know?
You know what?
The average NFL contract isn't $20 million a year. Go lower.
You know what they should do? They should play without any helmets or any protection, and that's what a real man would do. You don't box with protection. They're a bunch of big sissies. A bunch of big mouths. You know why?
Mike.
You can't at Subway go express yourself and kneel. It's a franchise. They need to act professional. They are exactly what the president called them and more. They're a bunch of disrespectful sissies. They need to get the padding off and get the helmet off and play like real men.
Mike, you realize that first off, Mike.
I'm going to bet on how many get injured every game. The big bunch of sissies. It's easy to kneel. What the hell are they kneeling for? For what? I want to kneel. Can I kneel?
Anytime you want, Mike. You can kneel anytime you want. You can kneel whenever you understand that that's your right, Mike.
How many men fought? I don't like what the government does either. But it's, you know what it is? It's individuals within the system. It's not the principles of the country. If it wasn't for this country, guess what? More blacks would have been slaves. It was America that freed the slaves. The whole world had slaves. Blacks should be thanking America, not kneeling for it.
Not thank America for what? There's more blacks in. No, America has 25% of the world's prisoners, most of which are black. Thank you for what?
For freeing the slaves.
You just, okay, first off, you exchanged one form of freedom for another kind of freedom.
Slaves. You know, there's more people enslaved now than there were at the time that the South had indentured servants or slaves. The North didn't have slavery. It was the United States of America. And 1 million people died to free slaves in the South. 1 million Americans. Why don't they kneel for them?
Maybe you'll kneel for them too, but listen, there's no reason to believe that, okay, no, because if you, America, no, you're not going to thank America for freeing the slaves when America enslaved the people who they ended up freeing generations later. That's insanity. What are you saying?
What? Tell me what's insanity.
What is insanity is to thank a nation for freeing people from slavery that they enslaved in the first place. That doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, thank you for doing what you're supposed to do. No, you don't thank people for doing what they're supposed to do.
The whole world had slaves at that time. As a matter of fact, Thomas Jefferson.
Mike, the whole world did not have slaves at that time.
Writing a Declaration of
Mike, people were leaving America and going to Canada and going to France and going to the UK because the whole world specifically did not have slaves at that time.
Most of the world did, and thank God for America, or the world still would be enslaved. You know what? If they don't like it, let them leave. Go to another country. They said they were going to Canada because they don't like Trump. Go to Canada. Go to Mexico.
Who's they? Who's they? How do you know that everybody kneeling said they wanted to go to Canada because they didn't like Trump? No, nobody said that. And by the way, no one is saying, this is by the way, Mike.
Should have pissed all over him from the stadium.
Mike.
He should have done.
That is the silliest opinion ever.
Dump urine on these NFL players that kneel.
That is particularly disgusting. But also, listen, Mike. Look, you call the show a lot. I like you. But come on, man. What are you saying right now? And actually, yesterday I clapped somebody on Twitter for this yesterday because it didn't make any sense. Like, if you don't like the nation so much, I think it was Derek Wolfe who played for the Denver Broncos. He said, if you don't like the nation so much, leave. Why? Nobody ever said that they hated the nation. This is where we're going to always disagree. Nobody ever said they hated the nation. And when you kneel during the national anthem, you are not attempting to be disrespectful to the nation. You are drawing attention, hopefully, to yourself so that you have the opportunity to say something. In this case, we're talking about racial inequality in America, right? The initial protest by Colin Kaepernick, if you go all the way back a year ago, was about police brutality in America, right? I would like us to at least have the conversation on that without that getting particularly swept under the rug. And I see this happening. Players are kneeling during the national anthem and everyone's going, oh, well, you're disrespecting the flag, as though this were a flag issue. That's not disrespecting the flag. In fact, we disrespect the flag more often when we print the flag on paper plates and print the flag on T-shirts, and you can look it up. All of these things are considered flag desecration. You know what's not considered flag desecration? Kneeling during the national anthem. That is suggested that you stand during the national anthem. Suggested that you stand, not required. Go look at the handbook. Caller, you're on the air.
Okay, I got cut off. I went into a bad signal area. Racial equality? What do you mean by that? How about blacks shooting blacks like in Chicago? How about the black community taking responsibility for what they have done? How about the Democrats and liberals taking responsibility for feeding the poverty in America? You know, the difference between a conservative and a liberal is the conservative is colorblind and wants everyone to succeed. But you know what? When you don't have a daddy, either in a white or black family, raising you as part of that family, you know what you gravitate towards? Thugs, male thugs.
Mike.
So I don't want to hear about this equality stuff.
Mike.
This black-white equality. Blacks and whites are more equal now than they've ever been. This is, you know what? You're beating a dead horse, Keon. The horse is dead.
I'm not beating a dead horse. First off, I'll agree with you on a couple of things, right? I will agree with you, Mike. Mike, this is not your show, Mike. This is Clutch with Keon Rose.
Okay, listen, let's have equality. I want to see
Mike.
I want to see short.
Don't make me drop you, bro.
On the
this is Clutch with
How
Keon
about
Rose.
Let's have short, fat Italians play basketball. How's that for equality? How about that for equality? Let's make sure half of the NBA. Yeah.
All right, Mike. I had to drop you there because you are talking and you are not listening. I have a dialogue with you. I'll have a dialogue with you all day. This is not Clutch with Mike Steele. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. I will agree with you on a couple of things. First off, this has got nothing to do with liberals or conservatives. I'm not talking. There are black conservatives who feel like there should be racial inequality in this country. Is America more racially equal than it has ever been? Absolutely. This is not particularly up for dispute. But I don't know. Can we not strive for better? Is there not a way that we can maybe raise our standards? What are we doing? Is there not a way that we can go further? Why are we so good with settling for good enough? Good enough never did anybody anything. We're not going to settle for good when we can be great. America can be great. We're not settling for good. That's what all of these protests are for. We can be better. And here's the thing, like, I understand how protests work. There's no level of this at which simply kneeling is going to create any particular kind of change. It isn't. But what I thought I would love to have heard from these protests is people going, okay, there is actual pain and there's actual hurt here because the people who are kneeling during the national anthem respect this country as much as you do. Okay, they take this very seriously. So I'm going to ask you this question. What does somebody have to feel like kneeling during the national anthem is the only course of action they have left? How much hurt and disrespect does somebody have to feel that that's what they need to do to get your attention? How ignored were they previously to get your attention there? This is important. It's serious. It's absolutely serious. I think that there is a mindset that many folks have that by kneeling during the national anthem, you're not taking the national anthem seriously when nothing could be further from the truth. The truth of the matter is you take it very seriously, but the message that you want to get across is not being heard through conventional means. Because I've heard people say, well, why don't athletes just talk about these issues in post-game interviews? They have. You weren't listening. Why don't athletes go on marches? They have. You didn't notice. And with each step along the path of being ignored, you push the conversation into a spot that's a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit more uncomfortable until somebody somewhere notices. And you may not agree that that's the method that should be used. And I'm not asking you to agree. But don't turn this into a disrespect of the flag conversation. Because it's not that. It's about talking about systems in America that hurt people. And by the way, I'm not going to sit here and be a friend of liberals or conservatives. Both parties have instituted systems that have hurt minorities, not just black folk. I think that this is a protest about black people because, I don't know, 75% of the NFL is black. So you're going to have to hear their opinions on it. It doesn't end there. And it would have been nice to have been heard. And it's crazy because anytime someone says something about Colin Kaepernick and they call him this terrible person, this bad guy, rather than diminishing him, which is what they're trying to do, they just make him more and more of a martyr. The president said that anybody who kneels in the NFL should be suspended or fired, and he called them SOBs. And I think that if you didn't want players protesting on Sunday? Because this is crazy to me. There was no protest planned initially. You don't want players protesting? Here's what you do. Here's what you do, because this is all anybody was looking for in the first place. Here's what you do. You say, I hear you guys. I do. I want to have this conversation with you. I want to hear what your grievances are. I want to know why it is that Black Americans feel hurt by America. I want to hear what it is that you're telling me to listen to. I'm not a fan of the way that you go about expressing this. But how about a trade? How about if I promise to hear you, you stop kneeling? Don't you think a lot more people would stop kneeling? You can draw in more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. I mean, this has always been true. Extend the olive branch. This is not about hostility. It doesn't have to be. I don't know if you noticed, 75% of the NFL is black, but they're not all black. And yet, who did you have protesting? You had players of all races protesting. You had the owners. There are no black owners in the NFL. You had many owners down on the field holding hands with their players. Right? Like, that to me is important. Look, the American flag is a symbol. The national anthem is a symbol. Symbols don't get offended. People get offended. And those symbols are ideals. Those are things to reach for. They're goals to strive for. And guess what? If you think that the ideal is not being reached, if you think that the goal is not being reached, you have to do or say something about it. And if you try traditional means, simply talking to the media, going on marches, then when people don't hear you, when the nation doesn't hear you, when the nation turns a blind eye, then you have to put it in front of people. It's like, and I think that there are a number of wives that realize this, right? Like, their husbands are watching the game on TV. You want to get his attention. First, you say his name, right? And then he doesn't look at you. And then you say his name a little bit louder, and he goes, yeah, I'm coming. But he doesn't move. Then what do? You stand in front of the TV and talk to him. Why? Because it makes him uncomfortable. Because now you've got his attention. That's why. Don't turn this into an issue of disrespect of the country. Because I've heard every story at this point about how there are veterans who are just absolutely offended by everything that the players who have knelt and protested have done. And I think that is just on the road to absurdity, because for every one of those veterans, and I talked to a couple of veterans this weekend, and also my dad served. So let's not go there. Like, I don't understand how this works. They're not offended because they fought for the right for people to be able to express themselves. Right? Like, no matter what you are racially, you are an American. I mean, it's nonsensical. Nonsensical. Okay, we're coming up against the break here, Mike.
I have a quick question for you. You going to break?
Yeah. 30 seconds.
How many minutes? 30 seconds. Quick question. I abhor the federal government giving the pigs at Planned Parenthood money. So that's a good reason to protest against this flag, right? But here's the question. Are they violating their franchise agreement? Are they violating their franchise agreement? Can you, as a worker at Subway or McDonald's or any other place that's a franchise, just decide you want to protest? Is that the proper venue? Because I despise the federal government in about 90% of what they do. So are they standing up for me? You see how ridiculous that is?
All right, Mike, I had to drop you there, but we were we're up against a break, but the short answer, of course, is no, they're actually not violating their agreement. I will explain that better on the other side. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
Don't punish your gun by leaving it in a corner. Shoot it, sell it, or just toss it. Okay. Don't toss it. Make money with it. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range, the hottest gun shop in town, finds buyers for your extra firearms. Put cash in your pocket today. Are ARs cluttering your closet? Rugers rusting in your rec room? Shooter Supply and Indoor Range in Hickson will take your firearm and put it on consignment. To you, that means no money out of your pocket with a small fee when the gun sells. Larry at Shooters has got an online store. He's licensed to ship anywhere. It's as if Shooter Supply were giving your billfold cover fire. Get the biggest number of bucks from the smallest Derringer to the longest Barrett. Maximum price, shortest time. What a great deal. Shooters-range.com. Shooters-range.com. That's shooters-range.com. Check with Larry.
When my brother and I opened our first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300-plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Hi, this is Eric Pelton. Taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. E.J. Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Whether it's a car accident, storm damage, or fire, when the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you've saved money in 15 minutes. In this moment, it doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. What matters is your independent insurance agent and the company behind him have you covered. Auto Owners Insurance, the no problem people. Goss Insurance in Hickson. Goss, 875-2500.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
This is Chrissy, and this is Summer of Summer Cares. There are too many homeless veterans in Chattanooga. Please help us in our Shoebox for Veterans campaign. You can fill a shoebox with hand warmers, hand sanitizers, hand wipes, cough drops, razors, shaving cream, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, deodorant, snacks, socks, gloves, and even a small blanket.
And make sure you drop your shoeboxes or your shoebox items off at Nooga Radio Studio on Hickson Pike across from Bojangles below Goss Insurance, Sonic on Hickson Pike next to Front Runners, or Alpine Crest Elementary School.
Please join us at the Community Kitchen in Chattanooga on November 10th from 11 to 12:30 and help us distribute these care packages to the homeless veterans of Chattanooga. No veteran should ever go homeless.
Nooga Radio 92.7's Fast Forecast. Now, 85 degrees in Chattanooga, getting up to 88 today for the high and 67 for the low. Friday, 88 for the high and partly cloudy, 67 for the low. As we get into the rest of our weekend and into next week, highs continue in the upper 80s and lows in the 60s. Next week, temperatures start to dip down by the end of the week down to 76. We're the home of Sean Hannity every weekday from 3 to 6. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nooga Radio.
You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. You can also check out all of our social media if you search Nooga Radio. That's Facebook, that's Twitter, that's YouTube. I highly recommend checking out YouTube because if you check out YouTube, what you get is a nice little look on the inside of our studio here. You can see what I look like. And, you know, that might put some things into context for you. Maybe. I think I'm a pretty fair guy. Because I'm not saying that you don't have the right to be offended. Be offended if, in fact, you are offended. There are veterans, though, who are and are not offended. And I don't think that you get to quote veterans. I don't think you get to cite veterans as though you know all of them. Because I know, for every veteran you find that says that you say, look, you're disrespecting this person, I will find someone who says that they are not, in fact, disrespected. I talked to 3 this weekend. And my dad served. Okay, I'm an Army brat. So I understand how important this all is. And understanding that importance leads me to say, first off, our service members, we wouldn't be America without them. We wouldn't. And they died for people's right to be able to stand, kneel, whatever. And by the way, this particular protest, it's going to be hard to swallow for a lot of America. It's going to be absolutely hard to swallow for a lot of America. There is no protest that anybody ever enjoyed, right? A protest, by its nature, is an act of defiance. It's an act of defiance that offends. It does sit-ins, marches. Back in the 60s, those were acts of defiance. And this is a like act of defiance. And if you don't want to be on the wrong side of a history book, openness is what I am recommending to you. Listening is what I am recommending to you. I am not recommending in any way that you agree. I am not recommending in any way that you even have to understand. What I am recommending is that you listen and that you hear that at the very least, there are many black Americans. I'm not going to speak for everybody, and I'm not the guy that speaks for all black people. I'm sorry. I just don't have that in me. But I'm saying me as an individual and people who friends and family I get the chance to speak to, and people around Chattanooga that I get a chance to speak to, feel like this is an issue that they're glad to see how it's playing out. Okay? You can take this and twist this in any number of ways that you want to. You can make it seem like players are kneeling and they're kneeling because they think that the flag is something that's not worth standing for. And that's the wrong way to look at this. It's the absolutely silly, absolutely uneducated way to look at this. It's not that the flag's not worth standing for. It's that you need to call out for change despite the fact that the flag is worth standing for. Even because of the fact that the flag is worth standing for. Don't settle for good enough. Go for great. Right? Like that's what you teach every single athlete. Now, I had a caller on before I went to break, and he asked the question, what would be an appropriate place to kneel? What would be an appropriate place to protest? And could you do it at a Subway? Well, first off, if Subway doesn't have it in its rules when they hire you, and Subway doesn't have a national anthem, like this is a really bad analogy, but like Subway doesn't have a national anthem, but if Subway had it in its rules that you couldn't stand or you couldn't kneel, then you shouldn't kneel. The NFL does not have it in its rules. The NFL does not write this into players' contracts, so they can kneel. If the NFL really, really, really didn't want this to be an issue, they could change the rules. They did not. Right? Players were kneeling last year. Kaepernick started it, but it's not like he was the only guy. Many members of the Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks, and I believe the Indianapolis Colts were kneeling last year already. Cleveland Browns as well. Already last year. Right? We didn't have it to where every team in the league was doing it like we did on Sunday, but everybody, like a bunch of people were already kneeling. Okay, so this is something that if the NFL truly wanted to change it, the NFL has a meeting every summer, every offseason, where they go over the rules of the league. And owners propose rules, and they all vote on it. And if the vote passes, it's a rule. And if the vote does not pass, then it is not a rule. Was not even suggested by an owner. The NBA has similar rules. The NBA has similar rules. The NBA says no. Stand during the national anthem. Just, you want it in the rules, you can put it in the rules. Caller, you're on the air.
NFL has it in its rules. It tells the players what they expect of them in their rules during the national anthem. It's in their rules. But of course, you know what? I'm so happy this is happening.
It's not in their rules, Mike. It's in the NBA's rules.
It's in their rules. It is. I'll look. I'll find you. I'll find it. But you know what? I'm so happy this is happening because these NFL players are a big bunch of spoiled babies anyway. You know, from the time they have talent to the time they get on the field in the NFL, they think they're special. And you know what? This is going to implode. Because anything that I would support that would be to the left, I'm no longer going to do it. And trust me.
This isn't about the left, dude.
This is the end of the progressives and the left.
This has nothing to do with the left.
Thank God, Keon, thank God Barack Obama was elected. You know why? Because it woke up, it awakened a sleeping giant. It smoked out the rats from under the porch. And guess what? This is smoking out the rats. And you know what's going to happen? People are going to stop going to games. They're going to turn the TV off. Your station no longer carries the NFL. And guess what's going to happen? It's going to wither like baseball. Nobody watches baseball anymore. It's going to wither away and die. And what are these NFL players going to do? What are they going to do?
Okay, football? Well, first off,
most of them, 90% of them end up broke 5 years after they leave the NFL.
That's also an incorrect stat.
What are they going to do?
All right. Let me break it down for you. First off, the average NFL career is already just 4 to 5 years. So, like, you can run spoiled out there all you want to. Not the case. Secondly, playing in the NFL, that is the most dangerous sport in the world. You say, well, they have pads and all of these things. That actually invites more danger. NFL players are injured more than rugby players, than baseball players, than basketball players. This is the most violent contact sport because people treat the padding like it's protection. It is not. So you already have that. Like there's not a spoiled factor here because the average NFL contract is not in the millions. It's in the thousands. And the average NFL career is no longer than 5 years. Like you have exceptions to that rule, but you have guys ultimately.
But why can't you understand that everyone has a gripe with government, and we're going to disrespect the flag because of that?
No, everyone has a gripe with government, but usually your gripes get heard.
I used to spin as a disc jockey. I never drank at a bar. You know, I spun there. I didn't give my opinions about the bartender or the people I was serving. It was my job to spin records and make them happy. It's your job to be opinionated on the air. It's their job to play football.
Which they also did, Mike. It's their job to play football. And while they knelt because they had something to say, It's not like they showed up, knelt, and then went home. They did their job.
They're morons. They're football players.
So?
Who cares what they have to say?
Look, you don't get okay. Listen.
I don't care.
You don't. So what?
Donna has to say. You can't. What? Who cares?
Look. First off, enough people cared. We're all talking about it. You did care. You're calling my show. This is the third time you've called me today. You absolutely care. You want it. You absolutely care.
Interesting game. Get rid of all the padding or leave the game.
Listen.
Put outside. You know who's worse?
No, don't put it outside. You don't get to choose when people are opinionated and when they are not. This entire thing.
Not at work.
Not all jobs are created equally. Their job comes with a platform.
KKK symbol or Nazi symbol?
Do you know?
Hey, what do you think about that?
Well, then how
about a KKK symbol?
Look, if the league were really offended by it, look.
That's your question. You're not answering my question. What about a KKK? What if they want to put a white sheet over their face? Is that okay?
Mike, that's not okay. That's not the same thing. You are making a false equivalency because those things are offensive and not offensive to some people. Those things are offensive to everyone. And I said, and you're not listening to the show if you're calling in and saying that stuff, that there are people who are offended by kneeling during the anthem.
Fighting words. They're fighting words by disrespecting the country's flag.
It's not about disrespect of the flag.
I think they should do. I think all the players should wear white sheets over their head.
Mike, look, you're taking the example that you've made and going to a level so far beyond logic and into the realm of extremity that you make no sense. What on earth would wearing a sheet on their head have to do with anything? Why would anybody want that? Who would be in support of that? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. What is the message that the players are trying to get across? And what is the message that they are trying to get across so desperately that they would do something like kneel during the anthem? Because everybody knows that's serious. Everybody knows it's serious. And the message they're trying to get across to you, they are willing to be, is so important and so desperate that they'd be willing to kneel during the flag. Right? And don't talk to me about offense. My dad was in the military. Don't do that. You're not about to call this show and rook me. I'm not offended because I understand where they're coming from. And I'm not asking you to say, well, it's all fine and dandy. It's all buttercups and roses. What I'm asking you to do is to listen. Why would somebody be this hurt? Why would somebody be this offended? Right? And don't go with, oh, we all have gripes with the federal government. Yours isn't important enough then. Yours is not one that you're desperate enough to fight for, that you'd be willing to do something incredibly unpopular. Right? Because the things that you find important, you fight for. And you fight for through any means that you can. If you have to kneel during the anthem, you have to kneel during the anthem. But don't treat that like that's a decision that anybody's taken lightly. That's a hard decision to make. Every one of those players loves this country. All of them. No one has expressed any hatred. No one has expressed any divisiveness. This is all about making the country we love better. Okay? I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that players need to put their money where their mouth is. You can Google players that are active in the community, and you'd find practically every player you know in the NFL, plus practically every player you know in the NBA. They're some of the most charitable people on this earth. It doesn't make sense what you are saying. And no one ever had to tell them. And they've been doing stuff in the community quietly for ages. This is not about whether or not these guys are respecting the flag or disrespecting the flag. It's a matter of them living in a nation that they feel does not respect them the same way. Because they've been standing for the national anthem for years. They didn't have a problem with America for years. But if you can't, are you blind? Do you not open up a newspaper? You don't watch the news? You don't see black people getting shot by the police? You don't see the length of service in prison for nonviolent crimes? That they're ridiculous in length? And when compared to their white counterparts, they're much longer? You don't see that. All of this stuff is wrong and it's different. It's not just a gripe with the government. It's not, this is beyond just a mere gripe. This is a series of intertangled bad issues that affect minorities, really, but most of the league is black, so let's be honest. This is initially about the treatment of young black men by the police. But this is not about the hatred of the nation. No, you can still like it here. Why is it a crime to want the nation to be better than it is? I don't want to be hit with that, well, we've come a long way. Yeah, we have. And go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back for that. And I'm not being sarcastic. I mean, seriously, go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back for that. And then stop patting yourself on the back because we still got a long way to go. Pull up those bootstraps. We got work. We have work. And if the reactions from any of these people that are just going on about how, oh, I want my sports and my politics separate. Politics affect who? Everybody. All of us. You, me, NFL players, coal miners, construction workers, nurses, teachers, all of us. It affects each and every one of us. So you don't get to say, well, I don't want my athletes to have political opinions. That's silly. That's insane. So every human that lives in a country in which there is a political system, so all of them have political opinions. You are in a nation where the sport is played by human beings. Human beings always have opinions and always have opinions on the system that rules them. You're listening to Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com. You want to join in? Phone number is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 if you want to drop in with your opinion. You'll probably disagree with me heavily. And I'm okay with that. I mean, you're not owed anything by NFL players. I hate to break the news to you. They don't owe you anything. What you want to watch football for? Oh, if you want to watch football to escape from politics, if you want to watch football for relief, that's fine. But you're not owed that. Right? Like that's something that you hope to get. Right? If you buy a bag of Cracker Jacks, the only thing you are owed is Cracker Jacks, right? Whatever happens to be the toy on the inside, you don't get a choice on that. You tune into a football game, the only thing that you are owed is football. Anything else that's extra that happens, guess what? You don't get to control that. You don't get to decide you don't want politics in the football. The only thing that anybody ever promised you was football. And you got it, didn't you? Didn't they play the games? Did they or did they not play the games? They absolutely played the game. So what are you complaining about? Well, I tune in, and when I tune into football, I just want football. Okay. Did it happen? Because I pulled up the scores this morning, and I've got scores from games that were played. So I believe the football got played. The fact that you also got an extra civics lesson to boot, that's not entirely on me. You got an extra toy in the bag. I don't know what else to tell you on that one. Right? Like this is what a bunch of people believe. And it's funny to me because the president was saying that a lot of fans booed, and those fans are a small percentage of the whole. And I thought to myself, that's absolutely crazy that he could say that and ignore the obvious part of the thing that he just said, which is actually not out of left field for Donald Trump. The obvious thing there is that a bunch of players knelt during the national anthem, and they are a small percentage of the way that people feel in America. They are a small percentage. And there are many Americans who saw that and felt pride, including me. My dad served in the military. I was talking to my pastor this weekend. My pastor is a vet. My pastor thinks it's ridiculous, by the way, that Colin Cowherd does not have a job. I mean, it's one of those things that's absolutely crazy. Now, I could get into all of the games, and I'd love to do that, but there's no way to look past the obvious thing that happened here, which is there is a subsection of America that feels ignored and stepped over by the nation as a whole. And rather than the nation as a whole saying, oh, well, let's listen to you then. We didn't mean to step over you guys. The nation as a whole complained about those people being stepped over. Like they complained about those people in the method in which they chose to express something that they've been expressing to you for years in more benevolent ways. You didn't listen before, right? They said in the last segment, when your wife wants to get your attention and you're watching the game, right? Say it's Saturday afternoon and you're watching the Vols. And your wife is trying to get your attention and you're watching the game. First, she says your name and maybe you don't answer. Then she says your name a little bit louder and you go, yeah, I'm coming. But you're not getting up because it's not commercial break yet. Then she says your name a little louder. And you're like, yeah, hold on. Her next move, if your wife is anything like women that I know, is going to be to stand in front of the TV and say something to you. Why? Because she's trying to get your attention. And first, she tried to get your attention in ways that weren't that bad. She tried to get your attention in completely benign ways, and you would not give her any attention. So she made it uncomfortable. She stood in front of your football. That's what's happening here, right? That Black Americans have been saying, like, hey, this is not great. There are a lot of really bad systems in place here that don't make life great for us. And we'd like to see those things change. Can we talk about it, please? But when they were shouting from across the room, you didn't hear them. So they stood in front of your football. Now you can do one of two things. You can address the group of people standing in front of your football, or you could ignore them. You know what would happen, though? You know what happens when you listen to your wife? It makes her happy. And then you get to watch more football. Sure, you could ignore the football. You could just look away. But now she's unhappy. And you're not watching football. So who's really winning here? Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
You have low testosterone, or maybe your wife isn't in the mood, you just don't seem to have the spark or the passion there. Essential oils can help with that. They're safe, 100% natural. If you call me today, no obligation. There's a free consultation, 423-605-4719.
You've been in a wreck.
756-6400.
You've been wrongfully fired.
756-6400.
A turkey is suing you out of the blue.
756-6400.
Confused about a business startup?
756-6400.
That's the number for you. 756-6400. Right here, right now, Chattanooga. Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. Get biz advice now. Representation to fight for your right. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Don't sit on your rights. You've got remedies. Turn your tragedy into cash. You've got the solution from estate planning all the way to probate. Act now. Top attorneys in Chattanooga are waiting to help you get relief. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win. So win with us.
756-6400.
Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Turn your tragedy into cash. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win. So win with us.
756-6400.
756-6400.
Charge! Get back there, you dang Yankee! Great horny toads, I'm up north. Gotta burn my boots. They touched Yankee soil. Lay down your arms and step forward, Yankee!
What's the hassle, Schmassel?
My orders from General Lee is to hold the Macy-Dixie line, and no Yankees are crossing it.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook, Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
You're listening to 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose here on Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com. The phone number is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949. You knuckleheads. Now,
WBLZ HD4 Ottawa, W224AZ Chattanooga,
92.7, digital FM 95.3 HD4
Chattanooga.
Athletes respond to the president's demand to stand.
Everyone's got a right to do whatever they want to do.
The people run this country, not one individual.
The rhetoric keeps heating up over North Korea.
Military force continues to be the message, the or else.
This is the CBS World News Roundup, late edition. I'm Bill Rakoff. Reaction continues to President Trump's calling out of NFL players for kneeling in Sunday's games. The president tweeting today that the NFL must acknowledge that kneeling isn't about race, but respect for flag and country. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady, in a WEEI radio interview in Boston, said he was disappointed in the president's comments.
I certainly disagree with, what he said and thought it was just divisive, and, I just want to support my teammates.
To many, the Steelers' Alejandro Villanueva is a hero. The former Army Ranger who served in Afghanistan was the lone Steeler on the field in Chicago during the playing of the national anthem Sunday. But he says it was a mistake. By the time he tried to rejoin his teammates just inside the tunnel, the anthem had already started.
Every single time, I see that picture of me standing by myself, I feel embarrassed to a degree because unintentionally I left my teammates behind. It wasn't me stepping forward. I never planned to boycott the plan that the Steelers came up with.
Nonetheless, his popularity is skyrocketing. Villanueva's jersey is the hottest selling in the NFL today. The White House pushing back against North Korea after the rogue country says the U.S. has declared war.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders rejected North Korea's claims.
We've not declared war on North Korea, and frankly, the suggestion of that is absurd.
It comes after North Korean Foreign Minister Ri Yong-ho told reporters at the UN in New York that Pyongyang was ready to defend itself by shooting down U.S. bombers.
It's never appropriate for a country to shoot down another country's aircraft when it's over international waters.
Steve Dorsey, CBS News, Washington.
The Senate Finance Committee holding a hearing on the Graham Cassidy health care reform bill today, drawing protesters.
If you want a hearing, you better shut up.
Senator Lindsey Graham defended the Obamacare repeal bill.
We're going to send this money back to the states. You can't spend it on roads and bridges. You got to spend it on health care. You're going to have flexibility, but you're also going to have accountability. And for the first time in health care, somebody's going to listen to you.
But Hawaii Senator Mazie Hirono, who's diagnosed with kidney cancer, said the bill will hurt her state and others.
The one thing that people should be able to count on in the richest country in the world is getting the care they need when they need it. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege for those who can afford it.
The bill may come up for a vote this week in the Senate. A down day on Wall Street. The Dow Jones lost 53 points. The Standard & Poor's 500 down 5. The NASDAQ down 56. Now this.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. Every day people ask me, Jay, did I miss out? Have the rates gone up? The answer is no. Rates are still low, and it's a perfect time to refinance your home, especially if your mortgage rate is higher than 4.25%. If you'd like to lower your interest rate and save thousands of dollars in interest without starting over on a new 30-year loan, a Quicken Loans Yorgage is what you're looking for. With our exclusive Yorgage, you can choose a term that works best for you, anywhere from 8 to 30 years. The rate today on an 8-year Yorgage is 3.25%, APR 3.67%. For 7 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation for customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 4th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to QuickenLoans.com. That's 800-QUICKEN.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org number 3030.
The Supreme Court has canceled a hearing next month in the case of the president's temporary travel ban. This after it expired Sunday and was replaced with new regulations. CBS News Radio senior legal analyst Andrew Cohen.
This case isn't coming back onto the docket, at least not in the form it was in these past few months, because the ban itself is different. And if it is going to be challenged, it's going to have to be challenged on new grounds, which means a whole new round of judicial review starting with federal trial judges.
Former Congressman Anthony Weiner is going to prison on teen sexting charges. WCBS reporter Marla Diamond.
Anthony Weiner remained seated between his lawyers and wept into his hands after Judge Denise Cote imposed the 21-month sentence and left the courtroom. She rejected Weiner's plea for probation, calling his a serious crime that deserves serious punishment.
Weiner was charged with sexting a 15-year-old girl. This is the CBS World News Roundup.
Hi, I'm
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
You're listening to 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose here on Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com. And yeah, the headlining story, obviously, NFL players protesting. And I think that the thing to note about that, or another thing to note about that, is the level of unity that happened, right? Many players all across the league showing support for one another. Okay, so while I believe that the initial issue in this is in fact a black issue, I feel like if the players in the league can figure that something is wrong, we can too. Like there's no way that you can minimize them as being football players and say, well, they're only football players. What do they know? But then they notice something that seems distinctly obvious, and then you don't notice, and they're the ones that are supposed to be stupid here. Like that doesn't compute. Okay? So I do understand that there's a level of uncomfortable subject matter here. I think that's something that nobody wants in their sports. But the fact that it's in your sports is specifically because you don't want it there. I mean, I don't know of any protests that are comfortable for all parties involved. Do you? Do you know any protests that are comfortable? Do you understand that the idea of protests is that you've got to rattle the cage? You have to. You do not have a choice. If you actually want to be heard and you actually want to be listened to and you actually want people to pay attention to you, then you've got to rattle the cage, right? And I think it's interesting, by the way, that this all started with Colin Kaepernick. And Michael Freeman, who is, apart from being one of the most prolific Twitter users of all time, the man he sleeps on Twitter. I mean, Michael Freeman has gotten the chance to talk to Colin Kaepernick and has said that Colin Kaepernick thought that maybe there's a possibility he'd never play in the league again. Like when he took his stand, or kneel, I guess, and decided to protest during the national anthem, he was aware that he might not ever play in the league again. And sure enough, despite the fact that he is a very capable quarterback and that many quarterbacks that I'm watching on Sundays are just dreadful. My gosh, Josh McCown? He's still not in the league. I'm not, at this point, this is not even about him getting a job anymore, but there's no way that you can ignore the fact that this is some kind of racial issue. You don't get to turn a blind eye to it. And I think the thing that makes America most uncomfortable, honestly, outside of the national anthem, honestly, the national anthem and the respect for the flag, that's what this has been turned into. What has got people the most enraged is that you put something serious in their football. You put something uncomfortable in their football. Now, here's the thing. You say that the players get paid to play football and nothing else. That's not true. The players get paid to play football. And as long as the football gets played, they are fulfilling their contract. Like when you look in their contract and you look at the bonuses that they make, they're all football-related bonuses. They're all, did you make the Pro Bowl? Did you win an MVP? Did you throw for more than 25 touchdowns? All of these bonuses that these guys can make, it's all performance-based football stuff. That's all the contract concerns itself with, okay? And there's an extra level of entitlement that fans have been having specifically, where they're like, I pay my money to have players play football and keep the politics out of it. No, you don't. You don't pay the players. I can't stress this enough. Your money eventually makes it to the players, some of it, but you don't pay the players. The owner of the football team pays the players, okay? When you sit on your butt and watch the football on Sunday, you're not even the paying customer. You're the product. You're the product. They pay for your eyeballs, and they sell that to advertisers. And the advertisers go ahead and make the money. Caller, you're on the air.
Your money eventually makes it to the player. Hello.
Yes,
Keon, hey, am I on live?
you are on the line.
Oh, hey, Keon, I just had a question for you. If the national anthem is not about honoring and respecting our country, then why even include it as at the beginning of these national events and so forth? I mean, I'm at tons of community events, and I'm on committees and boards, and we start every committee with a prayer and the pledge. And then sometimes if there is a song and the national anthem is sung, we all stand together and we all honor our country together. That's what that moment is for, to be in unity. And it just seems to me like, why not take the stand like J.J. Watt? If you've got a cause that's important and you've got influence and you've got money, why not do something positive about helping that cause instead of making a choice that causes division? And I'll just leave it at that. I'll listen on the radio.
All right. Well, first off, thank you for calling. The phone number is 423-800-8949, 423-800-8949, if you want to call in and weigh in with your opinions. And that's a very good question. It is a very good question because there's a few layers to this. And I'll start with actually the last questions and move my way backwards if you don't mind. So if you want players to use their money for a cause and to spend that money and use their platform like J.J. Watt, many of them are. Like, this is not just kneeling during the national anthem and that's it. There's kneeling in addition to, and you can look up the number of athletes that go out and put money into the community, whether it's black players who have done this, where you go, okay, well, like Ray Lewis in the past has done this, and Colin Kaepernick himself, while he was still playing, raised $2 million to help bring tools and educational equipment to the inner city. So I mean, this is not something where people are not using their money and not using their platform. This is in addition to that. The second question that you had is, or I believe the first question that you had was, why, if this is not about respecting the nation, why do we have the national anthem at all? Before, and this actually became something that was specifically linked to the NFL after 9/11. This was not always the case, and here's the thing: it's a more recent development that we have national anthems at sporting events, and even if you go to the Little League World Series, the Little League baseball games, they still don't have the national anthem. It's not that it's not that anyone's trying to disrespect the flag by not having it there. It's just something that's become synonymous with sports fairly recently. 9/11 happened, and it was such a tragic day, and it was a day that scared all of us, and we really wanted to hide from all of that. And the NFL, and if you look at the footage of the NFL has gotten distinctly more patriotic because the NFL starts in September. And we have used the NFL as sort of our place to hide from scary things that are happening in the world. And I think it's a good place to do that. But when players want to bring that stuff in, then you got to let them bring it all in. Like, if we're going to use the NFL for patriotism, and if we're going to use the NFL for breast cancer awareness, then you're going to have to let the players use the NFL for other messages that they want to promote. And in this particular case, money can't fix the problem, right? Like, money's not everything. And there are players who put money. I believe Warwick Dunn, who, when he played for Atlanta, Warwick Dunn did a lot of work with Habitats for Humanity and building homes for people. And there's actually a very heartwarming story in the NFL right now that Warwick Dunn, when he played in the NFL, built a home in conjunction with Habitats for Humanity, and that home wound up being the house that the current quarterback of the Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson and his mom benefited from moving into that home. Like, the NFL players have been incredibly charitable for years on this stuff. This is not something that they've not been doing all along, to suggest it. But that goes to my point that players have been charitable forever, and like nobody noticed. Like, they've been charitable for a really long time, And no one has gone to say, okay, this guy's working in his community. Why is he working so hard in his community? The only time when we're having these conversations about race is when they make it uncomfortable. That's the only time it happens. And that really stinks. I wish we didn't have to get to this point too. Like, I am not the guy that says, hey, just kneel during the national anthem whenever. I believe that you can do things in this country that are not looked upon well. You can do things in this country that are not popular, but you need to have a reason behind it. And I think that there is a good reason here that a lot of black people in America feel ignored. Like, they feel like their problems are ignored, that nobody cares and nobody's looking and nobody's trying to look. And if you can just bury yourself in the football and ignore it, that's what you want. Because I think that the flag and I think the national anthem, that is about respect for the country. But I don't necessarily think that if you kneel, you are necessarily disrespecting the country. And I don't think that this protest is about disrespecting the country. And I don't think it's fair to turn it into that. I don't think it's fair to take players and the things that they think and the things that they want put out there. And I'm saying the players, but the players are speaking on behalf, of course, of people that they know and that they encounter. And they have a platform with which to express these ideas. The problem is, of course, that the ideas are getting horribly misconstrued, right? Like, they're being twisted beyond belief. And I think in large part because, A, there is a contingency of people that feel disrespected. But there's more people that are mad, I think, that you just interrupted their football. That you pulled something into the football that they didn't want in there. You pulled something into their escape that actually kills the escapism. And I don't care what anybody says about the ratings, too. Like, oh, the ratings are down and they're way down. First off, the ratings are down, but they are slightly down. NFL ratings dropped last year, and I would say in large part because the football was terrible last year. Like, the ratings are not way down. Don't let anybody tell you that. The NFL is still the most popular show on ABC, NBC, and Fox. Not to mention ESPN. Okay, if your favorite show, for instance, is The Big Bang Theory, Big Bang Theory is a show that gets great ratings. The worst NFL game gets better ratings than The Big Bang Theory. It does, because it's football, and people love football. I mean, the ratings may be down, but they're down for the NFL. They're not way down. Like, they don't get that twisted at all. And so if you have that many eyeballs on you, when you have that many eyes watching you, and you could say that the players did something divisive, but they didn't, because it was a display of unity. Not everybody knelt. I don't know if you noticed, but not everybody knelt. The players that wanted to stand stood, but they locked arms with the players who were also kneeling. And there's nothing divisive about what they were doing yesterday. The players that wanted to kneel knelt, and the players that didn't want to stood. And there were many owners that were down there locking arms with their players. And look, I didn't see any owners kneeling. Okay, I was watching the Redskins-Raiders game last night. I didn't see any players kneeling, or any owners kneeling, rather. But the owners were there supporting their players. What does that say about the people involved in the league? Well, that says that people involved in the league are capable of going, you know what? I hear you. I understand your pain, and I am willing to empathize with you, which I'm telling you, that's all anybody wants. That is 100%. That would solve some of the problems, right? Like, okay, so if you are someone who goes to see a therapist, right? Like, one of the things that is that no one can make you go see a therapist. And if someone makes you go see a therapist, you'll never get help. You have to want to help yourself. You have to acknowledge to yourself that there are problems that you have in your life and that you would like those problems to go away and you would like the quality of your life to be better. Then you get to decide, let me go see somebody who can help me with those problems and help the quality of my life and help me be better and help the quality of my life be better. You've got to acknowledge that you have a problem. I think America has some problems, and I think America definitely has some problems in the way of race relations in terms of the fact that as far as racially, we don't understand each other, which is fine that we don't understand each other. We don't have to, but we have to try, and the best way to try is to start a conversation. The problem was that there was no conversation, absolutely zero conversation whatsoever. And while you had a sinking feeling that you knew what everybody felt, you didn't really know. Not really. And the players knelt to start a conversation, and you can disagree with their methods. Because again, I'm not going to try and impose my beliefs on you. I don't think that you have to agree. You can disagree with their methods, but you can't disagree with the results. That's all I've heard on the news. That's all I hear anybody talking about. What do you think about the protest? That's all people ask me everywhere I go. Oh, you're on the radio? You do sports? What do you think about the protest? What do you think about the protest? That's all anybody's talking about. Why? You got a conversation started. It actually worked. You got all of America talking about race. Now, not all of that conversation is productive. Some of that conversation has gotten incredibly cruel. Yes, it was a little divisive. But okay, you understand that the divisiveness wasn't caused by the kneeling. The divisiveness was exposed by the kneeling. The divisiveness was opened by the kneeling, but it wasn't caused by the kneeling. The kneeling exposed to us what was already underneath, and now we get to go somewhere because now we've gotten talking about it. Now, it would be nice to just immediately have empathy, but you know what? These things wind up being struggles. I mean, that's literally, this is not going to be resolved because everybody in the NFL protested once. This is a struggle. This is an absolute struggle. And anything that moves us forward socially will always be a struggle just by virtue of what that is. You are taking someone's identity and saying, well, it's not completely right. You're taking someone's identity and you're going, we got to twist this a little bit. And we're going to twist this a little bit. And the twisting of the identity does hurt. But we have come a long way, so we know that it can happen. We just have a little bit further to go, man. And it's not, you don't get to go anywhere by ignoring it, right? If you have bills to pay and you keep ignoring your bills and you hide the bills underneath your copy of Sports Illustrated or whatever magazine you're subscribed to, if you keep hiding those bills underneath things and hiding the bills, it's going to come back and it's going to get you in a bad way. It stacks up. Penalties are added on. It'll ruin your credit. What if you just handled the bills in the first place? How bad would that be if you just handled it in the first place? That's what I'm saying. This is a bill. And we've got to deal with it. And you don't get to deal with it by hiding it or pretending it's not there when there is a large subset of your country that is not happy with the way they feel treated in the country. And no, the solution to that is not to tell those people to go away. Why? Nobody hates the country. Like nobody that knelt yesterday. And I don't feel comfortable in most situations speaking for players. But I will speak for the players today because I am 100% confident. I would bet every nickel that I own that nobody playing in the NFL yesterday involved in that league hates America. Not one person. You want America to be better than it is, not to go away. What nonsense is that? Oh, you don't like it? Leave. No. If you don't like your house, right? If there's something leaking in the ceiling, do you just leave your house? if you have ants, if the plumbing is broken, if the water tank breaks, what do you just leave your house? No! You fix the house. There's a problem in America. You don't leave America, you fix America. Don't be silly. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM. The phone number is 423-800-8949.
Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Traffic, news, and information. Nooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News. NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
Don't punish your gun by leaving it in a corner. Shoot it, sell it, or just toss it. Okay. Don't toss it. Make money with it. Shooter Supply and Indoor Range, the hottest gun shop in town, finds buyers for your extra firearms. Put cash in your pocket today. Are ARs cluttering your closet? Rugers rusting in your rec room? Shooter Supply and Indoor Range in Hickson will take your firearm and put it on consignment. To you, that means no money out of your pocket with a small fee when the gun sells. Larry at Shooters has got an online store. He's licensed to ship anywhere. It's as if Shooter Supply were giving your billfold cover fire. Get the biggest number of bucks from the smallest Derringer to the longest Barrett. Maximum price, shortest time. What a great deal. Shooters-range.com, shooters-range.com. That's shooters-range.com. Check with Larry.
When my brother and I opened the first Jets Pizza, we believed if we made the best pizza, customers would find us. So we made fresh dough each day, used fresh toppings, and premium mozzarella cheese. 300-plus stores later, we still do.
Try Jet's famous 8-corner pizza with premium mozzarella cheese and one topping, now just $11.99 for a limited time only. Jet's Pizza, the best pizza in town. 3600 Hickson Pike.
Life is short. Eat better pizza.
Let's get Jets.
Eric Pelton, taxes, accounting, business advice. I've got a neat brochure, 12 ways to improve your business profits. Come on by for a free consultation and we'll give you a copy. EJ Pelton Company, 332-3339.
I have the best steak selection in town. Name of the business is Don's Meat Shop, and I'm Donnie Raines. Just ask for Donnie. I make over 20 different types of sausages. Most of them are great for grilling. We have the best selection, best quality. We have the hard-to-find items. Don's Meat Shop.
Whether it's a car accident, storm damage, or fire, when the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you've saved money in 15 minutes. In this moment, it doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. What matters is your independent insurance agent and the company behind him have you covered. Auto Owners Insurance, the no-problem people. Goss Insurance in Hickson. Goss, 875-2500.
Hi, I'm David Crockett, and I'm here with David Tulis, and we're having a little discussion over who's the number one Nooga centrist. If you want to keep up with free market ideas, then read Nooganomics.com. David Tulis, the blogger with the biggest pen.
This is Chrissy, and this is Summer of Summer Cares. There are too many homeless veterans in Chattanooga. Please help us in our Shoebox for Veterans campaign. You can fill a shoebox with hand warmers, hand sanitizers, hand wipes, cough drops, razors, shaving cream, toothbrush, toothpaste, soap, shampoo, deodorant, snacks, socks, gloves, and even a small blanket.
And make sure you drop your shoeboxes or your shoebox items off at Nooga Radio Studio on Hickson Pike across from Bojangles below Goss Insurance, Sonic on Hickson Pike next to Front Runners, or Alpine Crest Elementary School.
Please join us at the Community Kitchen in Chattanooga on November 10th from 11 to 12:30 and help us distribute these care packages to the homeless veterans of Chattanooga. No veteran should ever go homeless.
Nooga Radio 92.7's Fast Forecast. Now, 85 degrees in Chattanooga, getting up to 88 today for the high and 67 for the low. Friday, 88 for the high and partly cloudy, 67 for the low. As we get into the rest of our weekend and into next week, highs continue in the upper 80s and lows in the 60s. Next week, temperatures start to dip down by the end of the week down to 76. We're the home of Sean Hannity every weekday from 3 to 6. That's your fast forecast now.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Nooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM knows your opinion is important. So call 800-8949. Agree or disagree? Call 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Nooga Radio, 92.7 FM and 95.3 HD4. News Talk Nooga Radio.
Nooga Radio, NoogaRadio.com on 92.7 FM, Clutch with Keon Rose. And, man, look, I told you before, had two different shows planned. Saturday night was one show, Sunday night was the other show, and all the college football fell by the wayside. Because this is important. This is absolutely important that you have a bunch of players in the league representing a portion of the United States, that they are the majority of the league. They are minorities in America, and what they're saying is the way that we feel about our treatment as Americans, and just in terms of having our voices heard, and we'll get to that in a second, and just in terms of being seen as respectable entities in this country, it's not there, okay? Something in the house is broken. And from what I saw yesterday on social media, which is, it would be hilarious if people did not actually believe it, right? Derek Wolfe of the Denver Broncos was a player that definitely did believe this. He said, like, if things are so bad in America, just leave. And that is such a nonsensical assertion that it doesn't even leave room for adequate correction. Just the whole thing is wrong. We all live in houses that aren't perfect. At least most of us live in houses that aren't perfect. If you live in a house that's perfect, good for you. The rest of us that don't live in houses that are perfect, something may be wrong. You know, washing machine breaks. Maybe you've got a leaky faucet, your water tank explodes, you've got ants, you know, or other bugs in your house, and there's an infestation, and you've got to figure out how to deal with it, right? There's things going on in the house that aren't great. You don't move away from your house when your house isn't perfect, right? Your house is good. It's still got the roof over your head. It's still got walls. I imagine there's still locks on the doors so people don't just walk into your house. It's a good house. It's just not a great house. You don't leave the house. You fix the house. That's just basic logic. Like, anytime, I don't have a perfect car, right? The back of my bumper is a little bit scraped. My tire pressure's kind of low. Could probably go for an oil change. I don't leave the car. I fix the car. Or I get somebody to fix the car. Right? Like, that's just how these things work. And so, yes, there are players that are not satisfied with their current status in America. You're not going to leave America. You're trying to get America to be fixed. That's what you want. And that starts with people listening to you. It starts with people hearing that you're hurt, right? Because there's no way that you can live in a country, and this country, America has 25% of the imprisoned people on Earth. On Earth. most of those people are black. Now, that doesn't compute to me because black people are 12% of the population of America. So something's clearly off. And so when you take a closer look, well, what you start to see is sentences that are way too long for non-violent crimes, sentences that are much longer than the average. Black Americans, overwhelmingly. For non-violent crimes. For crimes of possession of drugs or for DUIs. And it's considerably longer. And I am not sitting here going, okay, well, what do we do here? Oh, we blame white people. That doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't fix anything. But it would be nice if you said, hey, these things look awful. The black to white imprisonment ratio seems horribly amiss. It seems off. The number of black people that are killed by police. This is not an anti-police thing, but it is in regards to, you know that every cop's not bad. There are some bad apples, but it seems like when the bad apples kill somebody and then they get tried in court, they get off. And how is that fair? And how is that okay? And how much sense does that even make? Something in the house is broken. But I like the house. I'm not trying to leave the house. I want to be in the house. I just want the thing that's wrong in my house to be fixed in my house. And that is the only logical way to see that. Now, sometimes to fix something in your house, you might have to break something in your house first. Right? I once lived in an apartment and there was a weird leak and I tried to get it fixed, talked to the apartment people, they wouldn't come fix it. Why would they not come fix it? Well, because in order to fix the leak, they would have to break something in the house to fix it. And so what ended up happening was I ended up living with this disgusting moldy leak in my ceiling because they refused to break something a little bit to fix the house. Yeah, you're going to kneel during the national anthem because it does hurt somebody's feelings. But hopefully, the net result is long-term, some of these problems, especially the problems of brutality at the hands of police, and especially these problems with imprisonment, it's just horrific. And I mean, when you talk to people of other nations, and you talk to the British, and you talk to the French, and you talk to the Germans, and they hear our prison statistics, they're horrified. They don't understand. And when you tell them that most of those people are black, it literally doesn't compute. There's a video of it online where you can find British people reading American prison statistics, and they don't know what to do because we're supposed to be the greatest nation on earth. We're supposed to be more civilized than everyone else, and yet here we are imprisoning people at a rate that will make your head spin. And you don't get to ignore that because there's something wrong in your house. Right? And there are some people that live in your house that would like you to help fix the thing in your house. And guess what? It's going to take all of us to fix the house. Right? Like black people can't fix the house by themselves. You're going to need everybody to fix the house. That's how this works. And then what you end up finding is, if you don't ignore the problem, that there's nothing to protest. Right now, obviously, there is a point at which you feel like this could go on for infinity, right? Like when does the protesting actually stop? And that comes to a point where the people who have the power to make decisions, our politicians, start to acknowledge that something is wrong, right? The president did not acknowledge that something was wrong. You want to hear about this from your politicians? I would say, call them. Call Chuck Fleischman. Call Bill Haslam. Call them. And if you have a smartphone, and I don't know anybody in 2017 that doesn't have a smartphone. If you don't, you're a miracle. But everyone else that does, there's a really, really absolutely wonderful app called Vote Spot. VOTE Spotter, SPOTTER. And anytime somebody votes on something in Congress or in the House, your representatives, you get to see, if you put in your zip code, you get to see your representatives, what they voted. And if you agree, you can click agree. If you disagree, you can click disagree. If you click disagree, it'll give you an option. If you want to call, if you want to email, whatever, and send that email. Like I've sent many emails and made many phone calls. Why? Because I want to know what's going on with my politicians, and I want them to make laws for everybody in America. But here's the thing. Sometimes the laws can be vague. Sometimes the laws can be interpreted differently, sometimes depending on the color of your skin. And that is deeply problematic. And I want to hear, that exists, because we know it exists. I would like somebody with the power to make decisions to acknowledge that it exists. Clearly, we can strike out the president. He ain't the one. But somebody is. And it's that the players reacted to the words of the president, verbally dismissing their pain and their frustration. Reacted to that. Somebody, and when I say somebody, I really do mean the people at Capitol Hill, people in Washington, D.C., our politicians, our representatives, our congressmen and women. Those are the people that really have to stand up and go, okay, something's wrong here. And to acknowledge that there's something wrong here. And we haven't heard it. And I'm talking on both sides of the aisle here. This is not a liberal or conservative issue. And I know Mike called in and Mike was saying, well, conservatives are the ones that, look, man, this is not liberal or conservative. This is not about whether or not you're on the right or you're on the left. That's divisiveness. No one's looking for that. Things are pretty bad right now. Whoever's in office, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Whoever is in office, can you hear that there's something wrong right now? Do you agree that there's something wrong right now? And then you, being the lawmakers and all, can you give us steps to take to change these things? Like that would go a long way. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, Nooga Radio, and NoogaRadio.com. The NFL wasn't always this patriotic. It's just, you can define patriotism differently, because I thought those players were being very patriotic. When you're kneeling during the national anthem, I don't see necessarily in that regard how you're even disrespecting the flag, when kneeling is a sign of reverence. Now, kneeling is not the tradition. That's where the protest comes in. But it's not disrespectful either, right? And I think a really good example of this is that early on in Colin Kaepernick's protesting, when he actually had the ability to protest because he was actually in the NFL, but when he was initially protesting, the first time he sat during the national anthem. He did. He sat. And that was not met very well by people that thought it was disrespectful. But you know what? Sitting during the national anthem, that is kind of disrespectful. And someone told Colin Kaepernick that it was disrespectful. And you know what he did? He kneeled. He listened, and he said, I will do a more respectful version of what I am doing. Okay? I will do a more respectful version than that which what I was already doing. I was kneeling. And anytime you look, take the Bible, for instance, anytime that someone is kneeling, they are kneeling as a sign of respect. When you go to pray at night, presumably you kneel because you are showing reverence and respect. This is not about disrespecting the flag, but at the same time, you must do something unconventional. You must do something that is out of the box if you want to promote any kind of change. And change, I think, always starts with attention, right? At least non-change starts with attention. I suppose there are violent means that people can go to do stuff, but I don't condone any of that. I would not suggest that anybody do anything in that manner. You cannot say to someone, do your protest non-violently, but I will also dictate all the terms of which you will do your protest. You cannot do that. The non-violence is certainly the way to go, but it's not supposed to be comfortable. That's not the same thing. Right? And you can look all the way back to Martin Luther King. You can look all the way back to Gandhi. You can look all the way back to Thoreau. Civil disobedience. And this isn't even really disobedience. I mean, breaking a law non-violently to promote change is how people have done this in the past. Kneeling during the national anthem is not even law breaking. I mean, I'd call it civil disobedience, but disobeying what? Tradition? Disobeying social norms. Disobeying what exactly? Not even disobeying anything. It's just civil uncomfortableness. Right? Like it used to be against the law for a black person to sit in a diner that said whites only in it. That was actually against the law. And people were very upset about that. This is not even law breaking. This is simply, oh, I tuned in on Sunday. The fact that that person is kneeling during the national anthem makes me uncomfortable. And now I'm mad. You can't even call it civil disobedience. It's so much more tame than people have protested in the past. You don't have a problem, I don't think, as much with the protest as who is protesting. I feel like we don't respect our athletes. I don't think that we think that athletes are intelligent enough to have a political stance and opinion that they've thought out well, reasoned well, talked about it amongst one another and decided, hey, this is not going to be fun, but let's do this. Because it takes tremendous courage to do that. The backlash of America today on what those players did yesterday is so strong. They had to know it was going to be like this. And they did it anyway. They took their decisions seriously. They knew the consequences were going to be loud, that every radio show was going to have somebody bashing them. They had to know it. Now, I do struggle with this because this is not, I don't think any part of this protest was designed, even though people are going to be offended and defensive. Any of this protest is designed to blame white people for everything, because it's not. What? No one's blaming anybody. But something's broken in the house. Probably work on fixing the house. Right? Like, something's broken in your apartment. You might want to talk to your landlord about it. And if you make a big stink about it, because maybe you've tried, and I've lived in apartments where this has been the case, where there's something broken in your house, you try and tell the landlord about it. The landlord is like, okay, but then they ignore you, and then you make a big stink about the thing that's broken in your house before they finally fix it. In no way does that mean that you're blaming the landlord for everything, or that you hate the landlord. The landlord didn't make the thing in the house break, but once the thing in the house broke, fix the house. Right? Like, that's not impossible. We can do it. We can do it together. But you got to fix the house. There's no way. No way. You have to handle this stuff. You can't ignore problems. Problems grow when you're not looking at them, right? And anybody knows this, whether you have a problem with your bills, you have a problem with your children, you have a problem with your car. Like if you hear a clinking in your car and it doesn't sound natural, you take it to the mechanic, right? Like if you don't know where to look yourself, and actually I've met a number of people since I've moved to Chattanooga who, they hear clinking in their car, they know exactly what's wrong and they just go fix it. If you're not that person and you're me, and radio people are notoriously bad at fixing cars. If you're me, you look inside, you lift up the hood and you look in there and you don't see anything that you recognize, you go to the mechanic. You get the mechanic to fix your car. Because if you ignore the clinking in your car breaks. And maybe irreparably. Like now it's time to buy a new car. You've got it. You can't ignore problems. This protest is designed to be the clinking in the car. If you take this personally, if you take this as an assault on you, you're not paying attention. Do not take this as an assault of race. This is us saying to you, there is something broken in the house. We like the house. House is a good house. House is not a great house. If something is broken in the house, fix the house. And I don't understand what's not clear about that. The only thing that's unclear about that is when you don't want to hear it, you want to keep ignoring the problem, and so you obscure it into everything else, right? You make it about respecting or disrespecting the flag. It's not about that, right? Kneeling during the national anthem is not disrespecting on the flag for just a number of different reasons. It's not disrespecting the flag because you have the right to choose whether or not you sit or stand during the national anthem. And it's not disrespecting the flag because kneeling is an intentional choice. Sitting is way easier than kneeling. They chose to kneel because kneeling is respectful and yet unconventional. They chose to kneel because they're trying to say, want to be the check engine light in your car. There's something wrong. And you couldn't be bothered to check what's wrong because you run to football to hide from what's wrong. And there was a time when that worked. There was a time when we needed to run to football, right? That football became synonymous with patriotism after 9/11 because football happens in September and it was something we could run to and it was something that could pull us all together. Well, we all like football. And during a time when it was dizzying and it was 9/11, you remember exactly where you were when those planes hit. You remember if you were alive then, and it shocks you that could even happen, and you're lost and you're looking for just something to make how scary that was go away. And along comes football. So we've used football to hide forever, but it cuts both ways. If you can be distracted from horrible events by football, then football can remind you of it too. And there are people in this country, black people specifically, going through some really horrible things. When you talk about the imprisonment numbers, when you talk about police brutality, those are some of the most horrible things that someone can go through, is the idea that you get pulled over by the police and you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know if you've got one of those bad apples. No one should have to live through that. Absolutely nobody. And yet a bunch of players saying, hey, we're speaking for that portion of America that feels this way. And you're like, nah, I just want football. I just paid for the football. And you know what? You did pay for the football. And you got the football. You also got a lesson in civics. Clutch with Keon Rose on 92.7 FM, on Nooga Radio and NoogaRadio.com. Remember, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Stay clutch.
Traffic, news, and information. The radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
You have low testosterone, or maybe your wife isn't in the mood, you just don't seem to have the spark or the passion there. Essential oils can help with that. They're safe, 100% natural. If you call me today, no obligation, there's a free consultation, 423-605-4719.
You've been in a wreck.
756-6400.
You've been wrongfully fired.
756-6400.
A turkey is suing you out of the blue.
756-6400.
Confused about a business startup?
756-6400.
That's the number for you. 756-6400. Right here, right now, Chattanooga. Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. Get biz advice now. Representation to fight for your right. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Don't sit on your rights. You've got remedies. Turn your tragedy into cash. You've got the solution from estate planning all the way to probate. Act now. Top attorneys in Chattanooga are waiting to help you get relief. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win, so win with us.
756-6400.
Call now. Top flight legal help awaits. What are you waiting for? That's 756-6400. Turn your tragedy into cash. Act now. No out of pocket. You don't pay a dime until we win, so win with us.
756-6400.
756-6400.